Okay. You ready, Chair? Good afternoon. Today, I would like to talk to my fellow Washingtonians about some of the businesses and business organizations that have successfully reopened under our Stay Home, Stay Healthy initiative, and specifically with all of the hardworking people across the state who are doing all they can to keep themselves healthy and comply with our healthy initiative. We know the economic impact of COVID-19 has been severe on businesses and families. The sacrifices across the state of Washington are profound, but we also know we're making progress. And by entering phase one of our efforts, we have some good news, I think, today about some of the successes people have had being able to open businesses and still maintain the health of themselves, their employees, and our communities. And I think the enterprising Washingtonians get it. We know this: there is no economic recovery without a recovery of our health in the long term. Representatives of different business associations that represent members across the state are joining me today for this discussion. And our office has worked with these groups and others to develop health guidance for reopening businesses in this era of COVID-19. And it's part of our Safe Start Washington planning process. The individuals in their associations who are here today really are representative of the vast majority of businesses in Washington that are taking appropriate measures following the guidance of our Stay Home, Stay Healthy initiative and helping us get our state eventually back on a healthy footing. These business leaders really recognizes the role they play in promoting the general health as well as their business interests. So I'm joined today by Renee Sunday of the Washington Retail Association. She will focus on the curbside retail that we've now started in phase one. Jen Moran of the Washington Auto Dealers Association. She'll focus on car dealerships and some of the creative things they're doing. And Anthony Anton of the Washington Hospitality Association, who will talk about some of the efforts now going on at restaurants to keep us fed and healthy. So they're each going to speak for a couple minutes, and I'd ask you to stick around for a little conversation after their comments, and afterwards I'll let those folks get on with their day, and I'll be happy to answer questions. But first, I would like to thank the teams in our state government who's been working with the business community and others to put these plans together. Every requirement that we've been put in place have been based on data. They've been based on science, and they're based on the effort to make sure we can all get our business done. So once again, we want to make sure you know that data we're using to make decisions, and that is available at coronavirus.wa.gov, coronavirus.wa.gov. While we're still fighting this highly contagious disease, it's important to recognize the progress we've made. So I'm grateful to every Washingtonian for being in this together, all across the state of Washington. With that, I'd like to turn over to Renee for some comments. Renee.
Thank you, Governor Inslee, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Renee Sunday, President and CEO of the Washington Retail Association. And on behalf of Washington retailers, big and small, urban and rural throughout the state, we're happy to see the phase one reopening of retail through curbside pickup this past weekend, just in time for Mother's Day. And now with phase two safety guidelines in place, we're excited to see the reopening of retail take another big step forward. Yesterday, a boutique retailer in Wenatchee told me about the gift bags that they created to deliver curbside to their loyal customers who were excited to shop local for that perfect gift for mom. Small businesses and retailers of every size are innovators at heart, because that's what great customer service is all about. Many retailers open during the first 45 days of the Stay Home, Stay Healthy order mastered the art of curbside and drive-up service, protecting employees and customers with a safe product delivery. Retailers have risen to the challenge of COVID-19 crisis to serve the needs of people across the state. Because the safety of employees and customers is a top priority for retailers, we've been gathering best practices and lessons learned over the past 2 months. We've worked with the governor's team to carefully develop guidelines for safe distancing, sanitation, and personal protection for the opening of curbside retail, and after that, the phase 2 opening of limited in-store shopping. This is an important step on the path to safely returning over 400,000 retail employers to their jobs and leveling the playing field for all retailers through phase 2 of the governor's reopening plan. I want to personally thank Governor Inslee for the excellent work of his staff and the team at the Department of Commerce. We value the opportunity to collaborate with your staff as they engage with a wide range of industries and stakeholders to keep Washingtonians safe. In malls and storefronts, in cities and towns, your favorite retailers across the state are ready to safely serve our communities.
Renee, thank you. And I look forward to answering. I had a couple questions that you provoked. Jen Moran of the Washington State Auto Dealers, could you join us?
Yes, good afternoon. As the governor mentioned, my name is Jen Moran, and I am the executive manager of a family-owned auto group in the Seattle area. Governor, I wanted to let you know that I appreciate your leadership through this time of crisis. You face tough choices in developing a game plan to respond to this virus. There are different opinions on how to approach these decisions, and I recognize your commitment to protecting people and helping us all return to a more normal life as soon as possible. And new car and truck dealers share that same commitment. When the Stay Home, Stay Healthy order was first adopted and auto sales were suspended, like all businesses experienced and are still experiencing, it was painful, not just for the dealer, but our employees, our customers, and our communities. Governor, you recognized from the beginning that vehicle service was essential and allowed for a limited number of vehicle sales to essential workers without reliable transportation or to individuals that had a vehicle that was impractical to repair. This gave auto dealers the chance to perfect how we can sell cars safely. We continue to appreciate the opportunity to work with you and your staff to develop safe sales procedures that follow the recommendation of the CDC and the Department of Health. These safe sales procedures protect customers and employees by doing a few things. First, they reduce face-to-face contact. They allow customers to begin purchasing a new car from their homes and allow many of our employees to also work from their homes. When a customer comes to complete a sale, the dealerships have been reconfigured to ensure there is social distancing. Employees and customers are using personal protective equipment, and as many of the documents as possible are completed online or via mail. 6-foot distances are clearly marked in dealerships, both in the sales and service departments, and sneeze guards are used extensively. Surfaces inside the dealership are sanitized regularly as well, including before and after every transaction. Vehicles are also fully sanitized before they're delivered to a customer. These are just some of the precautions and procedures we have implemented. But this is about more than just selling and servicing cars. We have built our reputation in the communities we serve by continually showing our customers we care. Dealers across the state know our business depends on customers and employees feeling safe, and that is our top priority. So thank you, Governor Inslee, for trusting dealerships to implement procedures that give everyone confidence cars can be purchased safely.
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate it. And now we have Anton of the Washington Hospitality Association.
Governor, thank you so much for your faith in our state's restaurants to put them in phase 2. As you know, our restaurant industry has been one of the hardest hit. Got over 130,000 unemployment claims, and our business is down 70%. And our members are just facing unprecedented challenges. And so this was welcome news that we've worked together to earn our trust and put us in a position to open. We're really confident in our ability to open safely. We already are trained and our employees are trained in food safety and sanitation and are permitted by the Department of Health to make sure our guests are safe. And we daily practice hand washing and sanitation. And we even have a person in charge already before this crisis that's in charge, make sure that our operations are safe. And so as we adopt these new standards moving forward, we're feeling confident that our guests are going to be treated to not only a great experience, but a great and safe experience. Together, we've worked with your team and the Department of Health to take unprecedented steps to make sure that our guests not only get that great experience, but a great safe experience and can come back again and again. We are moving tables to make sure that our guests are seated 6 feet apart. We're buying plexiglass to put in between our booths and make sure people stand safely. We're developing special plans for our waiting areas. So as you wait to get seated for your favorite entree, you're 6 feet apart from your guests. We're buying masks for our over 200,000 employees to make sure that we're confident that we're serving our guests safely and correctly. We've embedded new cleaning schedules, and we are sanitizing everything in the restaurant on a regular schedule. And so many new things that we're looking forward to do and welcome our neighbors back into our restaurants. So we really hope, Governor, that we deliver on your trust in us to do so and deliver on our customers' trust, so we can be confident that when our employees come back to work, they're here for the rest of the year and they're earning their paychecks for their family and they're moving forward. So thanks for your leadership. We're all in this together. Our leaders, our guests, our employees, our team members. We're ready to serve.
Thanks, Anthony. I'm excited about this progress. As a former server at Clinker Dagger, Bickerstaff, and Pets Public House out in Aurora Village, one of the best jobs I ever had. It was wonderful coming home with cash stuffed in my pockets. So those were the good old days. So we want to see that return. Renee, I wanted to ask you. You said something interesting about learning lessons from the experience you've had already. What lessons have you learned?
I think what we're fortunate with is that we have had a number of essential retailers that have been operating for the past 45, 50 days. And as the virus played out, we were learning about what needed to be done to protect customers all the way through those 45 days. And so I think as we take those lessons learned, things that worked well, things that didn't work as well, many of our retailers that are looking to open up their doors now have a base of lessons that we've been able to incorporate working with your staff. And those have been embedded into phase 1 guidelines as well as into phase 2. And I think we'll continue to create a safer environment for customers, for employees, even for the vendors that are interacting with our stores as well.
Well, I'm very proud of our business leaders here, and they're so entrepreneurial. And while we go through these phases, to me, the watchwords are we need to be incremental and we need to be innovative. And it sounds like you've done both in the industry. Have those sort of innovative ways of doing business, plexiglass, cleaning, have those really intruded in your operations? Have you been able to do a good business doing those things, or have they slowed you down markedly, or what's been your experience?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think it's certainly changed the way we do business in retail. Employees are getting used to that transition, and so are customers. But I think more importantly is, retail is all about customer confidence, and we have to have customers that are confident in coming into retail stores. And so I think the inconvenience is far worth it when you're talking about protecting health and building confidence with those customers.
I can certainly understand that. Anthony, what lessons have your folks learned? You've been doing curbside delivery of delicious food here now for a few weeks. What have you learned as far as customer acceptance of that and confidence in the health situation?
I do think this time period, and Governor, thanks for allowing us to do takeout and delivery and pickup during this time frame. We've really learned how to appropriately and with our guests' assistance use social distancing while you're waiting in lobbying, standing in line. I think that first week we had to adjust, and we did. And our guests were so patient with us, and we appreciate it. I know over Cinco de Mayo, a lot of people came to get their favorite Mexican food, and I was one of them. And an overwhelming people came in, and yet they were patient with their servers, learning how to stay away from each other, standing apart, taking a breath, and realizing we're all in this together. I also don't think that the new menu items we've developed during this time frame are going to go away. We've really learned about family meals and other areas that travel well for delivery. And so I think when you're forced to learn something new, sometimes you make great changes. So I think many of the new items you've tasted in the past 2 months while we've been in this scenario are going to continue on. And so that will only help us as we make these other adjustments and come out of this together.
That's great. What would you, so Jen, so they're going to curbside retail now in her operation. What would you share with her of your experience doing the takeout as far as, you know, how do you keep people, when you're waiting at the window, separated while they're waiting? What have you learned about those experiences? Anthony?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can try that. Jen, you want to go ahead? Jen, Governor, I think what I'd say on that is one of the things we've learned is guests are really understanding about waiting in their cars. And so typically they get to sit in their car, listen to their favorite music and do things. And so I don't think if this happened immediately and we're still open, I don't think we'd understand that guests were patient. And Washingtonians understand it's worth a little bit of inconvenience. We can wait in our car till our table is ready or till our food is ready. And the interaction has been good. And, you know, we're learning a lot of things about how to wear masks. I never thought I'd have to teach, or we'd all have to think about what's the right kind of mask for a kitchen and what's the right kind of mask when you're talking to seniors who may not be able to see your lips. And how do we do this together? So I think this time frame has helped us as we gear up together on take what we've learned in the past 6 weeks and just accelerate their improvements as we go.
Well, thanks for your leadership on this. I really appreciate it. And your members as well, obviously. Jen, what do you think? So we're in phase one, so we're going to be doing curbside retail now under these protocols. Do you have any sense of how many establishments will actually want to do that right now, to do the curbside?
You know, I would imagine that most of us, if not all of us, would. You know, we have to adapt to what the changes are presented, you know, in front of us, and I think it's a great opportunity to do a reset and, you know, listen to customers. And I think the convenience of being able to purchase a car online, almost, you know, beginning to end, I think will be something very attractive to buyers. It's less time in the dealership. They can go at their own pace. They have the ability to shop a wide range of models. I think this is, you know, something that will really be, you know, well received in our industry.
Yeah, Renee, what are your thoughts of your members? What do you?
Yeah, you know, I think honestly, when curbside opened up this weekend, I heard from a number of members that were so excited about just having the opportunity to be open to their customers. Mm-hmm. It's not the same as having a customer sometimes in a store, depending on the type of merchandise. But I do believe retailers are looking at how they can be creative during this next phase. They're certainly anxious about being good stewards of an opportunity to put in place protocols so that phase two quickly opens up. There's no doubt that retailers are very much looking forward to that. But we are really seeing creativity around the state, whether it's the small businesses I referenced on Main Street, or some of the standalone specialty retailers, or even retailers within malls that are now going to be able to open up and do curbside, just like some of our existing larger retailers were doing during the essential phase. So across the board, I think we're seeing a desire to be creative because retailers want to serve customers. But it is definitely a next step to where all of our retailers want to be, and that's with customers inside their stores.
Well, I want to thank you for your insights, also reminding me that my wife's birthday is next week. So thank you. That you've done a great service for the governor here. I appreciate that. Anthony, can you tell us what's been most useful to give your employees confidence that they're safe at work? What has been important in that regard?
I think good education and open communication, understanding why masks are important, helping them understand that when the business thrives, we all thrive together. And so let's do this safely. And just that open communication and routine, what did we learn after this night shift? And coming back together and saying, how do we handle this situation? And trying to get better every day. And a lot of these things are straightforward. Restaurants are used to hand washing, they're used to cleaning their door handles, and they're used to these cleaning schedules. But now at an even higher level, we're communicating, what did we learn tonight to do it better? And sharing with each other, being a team. Just like we're in it together in the state, they're in it together in that restaurant. Yeah. I think moving stations around, small adjustments, where to stand. The first couple of weeks when we were doing takeout, we didn't have a good lobby management plan, but we developed them. And most of those ideas came from our great teammates who said, well, what if we did this? And how do we keep people out of the rain and wait in cars? And just so many cool ideas and teamwork came together to make this happen.
Well, it's an innovative industry, so I'm glad you're innovating. We appreciate that. Listen, I've got some good insights listening to you. Does anybody have something they'd like to share with us before I free you from other duties? Any other insights we should know about?
Governor, just like you've asked everyone to do, we can't wait to get our restaurants open and get into phase 2. And our guests can help us do that by being safe in the next few weeks. Help us save our small businesses by being smart, by making the right decisions. And pretty soon you'll be sitting down for your favorite steak or favorite piece of seafood. And we're going to look forward to seeing you there.
Absolutely.
Well, we know we are all very, very eager for this. And Anthony, you really kind of reminded me of something, which is we do have some impact about when those days come. And that is kind of how we all act now in the next several weeks. And we want that to be sooner than later. We can't tell you it's June 1 for sure right now because we have to look at the progress of the disease. But we have some bearing on that. We have some control over that. It's sort of in our destiny on how we all learn to do business in these new innovative ways. So, and this is important to me too. Look, we want your employees and business owners only to go through this once. We don't want to have to do this twice. It's way too hard. So we want to make sure we're successful here. And the innovation you have all shown is really ought to give us some confidence. So thank you very much. So I'm going to cut my friends loose here. I have a couple more comments. Thank you guys for your help. And I'll look forward to some more openings. Good luck. Thank you. I'm going to make just a couple more comments here and then I'll stand for questions. Well, listen, the one thing I do want to add today, and I've mentioned this a couple times, but it's really important, is that we know how difficult this is for people. It's produced frustration, anxiety, concern for ourselves, our economic lives, our personal lives. And we know that life's tough sometimes. We want to make sure people know how they can reach out if they've got issues. And if you've got issues of being depressed, feeling lonely, concerned about domestic violence, please go to coronavirus.wa.gov, coronavirus.wa.gov. Reach out. Don't be alone. We want to help you out. You can also reach the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or text 741. That's 741-741. There's also a Veteran Suicide Prevention Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. You're not alone. We want to be with you. This state's committed to everyone's health, and so we care about you. Thanks a million, and with that, I'm happy to stand for some questions.
Rachel with AP.
Governor, could we get more specific targets that the counties and state need to meet as we move through the opening phases? For example, New York has a regional dashboard that shows targets on several areas, including decline in hospitalizations, number of residents tested, and then each region is scored based on the number of metrics they've met. So I know we have that dashboard, but couldn't it be updated to reflect that level of detail?
Yeah, we are looking at the next tranche. We've done the first tranche. We have 8 counties. There'll be a couple soon, I assume, on top of that. So we have had the criteria for those, and we were the first to reopen, ahead of New York, I think, not that we're competitive, of several of these counties where we basically said, no fatalities, no new infections for 3 weeks, and the counties have met that, the smaller counties, so we've had those criteria. We will be we are looking at new criteria, and we'll be talking that in the days to come so that we continue that step forward. I do want to address this issue, though, that I think there's some misperception about the status of the virus in our state. I think it would be easy to have this misperception, but it is a misperception that smaller rural counties, and particularly smaller rural eastern Washington counties, are out of the woods, and that is unfortunately not the situation. Yakima County unfortunately has, we think, the highest infection rate maybe in the western United States. We have dozens of fatalities in the Tri-Cities area. We've had outbreaks in particular our agricultural community in Chelan and Douglas County. So this is a disparate position, but it's not just east versus west or urban versus rural. In fact, some of the relatively smaller communities have had some of the largest outbreaks. So we will have to be able to give you some more criteria in the upcoming days and weeks as this progresses.
Joe with the Seattle Times.
Governor, two-part question. I'm curious, first of all, with some of this retail activity opening up, what is your advice to people? Should people be going out whenever they want or not at all, only when they need to? Because it seems to conflict a little bit with how we're talking about the public health data. And also, I guess the second question is, I believe Chelan and Douglas counties have submitted a letter requesting to move to phase 2, or at least partially phase 2 more quickly. And I'm curious if you've had a chance to review that and make a decision on that. I don't think criteria that you've laid out.
Yeah, I have not looked at those specific proposals. I will be doing that. And as I've indicated to Rachel, we're developing criteria for other somewhat larger counties to see if they can meet a particular criteria to move forward. That first tranche of criteria was successful. We got 8 or 10 counties to move forward. So we will have additional criteria. We'll be measuring Chelan and Douglas County against those. So we'll have more to say that in the upcoming weeks and days. Your first question about going out, this is a big question. If I can, I think the best way I can answer that is to think about the people who are closest to me and my family. I don't want my family going out unless it's kind of necessary right now. Just anything that's going to involve particularly an inside interaction with people inside, particularly for anything that involves any length of time, is just too dangerous to do right now. So it's too dangerous to go over to a friend's house and be in their living room for an hour right now. That indoor situation just spreads the virus. The virus becomes contained. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to, in my opinion, to go into a building unless it's necessary as an essential building right now where you are close to someone, where you're not wearing a mask and you're confined in a small area. That just doesn't really make sense unless just absolutely necessary for some essential purpose in your life. And what we have learned from the epidemiologists is that the way to squash a pandemic is to reduce the mobility of people. And when you look at the numbers, we had reduced the times people were going out of their home about 50% several weeks ago. And as a result of that, we have reduced the curve, and we've had early success on that. And there is some still interesting news. We're down to 3% COVID-like illnesses hospitalization right now for the last few days. But that mobility reduction is down to maybe 30% now. And we're concerned that the R0 level is getting up to 1, maybe even a little more than that. So we need still people to make individual judgments about what's really necessary to do right now. And if it's really not, and you're going to be inside exposed to other people, try to avoid it. And that's just going to help your health, and it's going to help people whose lives you may save. And the interesting thing about this type of heroism, it's a different kind of heroism. When a firefighter goes into a burning building, that is certainly heroism, and that firefighter will know who she or he saved. But when we avoid going to an unnecessary social event inside somewhere or too close to somebody, we won't know whose lives we save, but we know they're out there. So this is something that I'm really encouraged so far. Washingtonians have really taken this to heart, and they've changed their personal behavior, and that's why we've been successful. But we need to keep this up, to keep knocking those numbers down, so that our testing and contact tracing and isolation, our second weapon in this fight, can really be brought to bear. Now, we're kind of ready to go on that, as I talked about yesterday or day before yesterday. We have 1,371 people ready to do that work. But we have to get these numbers down so that that can be successful.
Next question comes from Essex with Cairo.
Yes, Governor, two questions for you. More than 1 million people now have filed for unemployment in Washington State. We have the slow reopenings. When do you think those slow reopenings will make a difference in bringing jobs back? And second, we saw a casino open yesterday, huge amounts of people lined up to go in. What were your thoughts as you saw all those people in line?
Well, hopefully jobs are coming back now because we have entered phase one. We've restarted auto sales. We've started curbside retail operations. Golf courses are opening up. So there's any number of businesses now that have increased their operations, and I presume that's going to help in our employment figures. But we're a long ways from getting back to normal.